Okay, sorry. I wanted to cut that off. Somebody else was coming into my office anyways, and I wanted to cut it off so that you don't have too much to listen to all at once. So again, there's this notion of a universal and a particular, and Kant is very interested in the universal. So now let's move quickly then to the notion of law, and let's move to the categorical imperative. On page 493, you'll find it written out as in italics: act only in accordance with that maxim through which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. I have always understood that as simply act only on that maxim which you can at the same time will to be a universal law. Again, the notion of universal law is essential in understanding the categorical imperative. And a categorical imperative commands you to do things, just commands you, that's it. There isn't so that you can get anything else. It just says do it, right? Only do it. Act only on that maxim. Act only on that motive or that statement of motive for your action that you can at the same time will to be a universal law. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want you to I'm going to back up for a second and say that in every action that we take, you can kind of see a couple of different wills going on, or desires, sets of desires. On one hand, every time I act, I know that it's me that's doing the acting, right? I know I'm doing something and that what I'm doing is going to have an impact on me. And so typically, and in most cases, unless I'm insane or inattentive or outside of myself in some weird way, that for the most part, whenever I do things, I do them hoping for something for me to result from my action, right? I go to school so that I can put myself in a better position, become better educated, maybe have a brighter future. I don't know. So my going to school is something I do cognizant of or aware of the fact that I am involved in it and it's going to have some impact on me. So when I act, then my desires for myself are always taken into account. And I'm going to call that my me will. Kant doesn't talk about it like that, but it will help you to understand the categorical imperative, what makes things good and make things bad. So I have this me will, right? This what I want for myself. In every action, it's there. Some expectation of what's going to come from this as a result to me. But then there's also a recognition that I share the world with others, that I walk and I talk and I live and I experience the world with other people. And that those other people are there not just as puppets for my own life, but that they're people who have things they want too, and desires and interests and goals and dreams and experiences and perspectives. And so I know that there's my life, but my life is involved with others. And so I know that when I act, I'm not just doing things for me, but I'm doing things to or with or in a world of others, right? And so in that sense, I have to know that my actions also have an impact on others and not just on me. So that I have a will here that's for me, and I have a will in all of my actions for others. And sometimes those go hand in hand, and sometimes they're at odds with one another. Now, goodwill isn't simply a will for others. That would be one way of thinking of it, but I think you get it wrong. What Kant, I think, thinks of as a goodwill is a will where those two wills, the me will and my will for others, are the same. There's just a one will involved. If we had read Plato's Republic, I would say it's where there's unity in the differences in the self, right? And Plato defines that as justice. Kant here, we're worried about goodwill. And a goodwill is where the me will and the other will are one and the same will. And so focusing on the notion of law or universality gets the me will out of the picture, right? And it starts to think us in terms of universalities. But when my will is what is for the universal, is a respect for the law, what I want is to respect universality more than all else. That's when I have a good will. Then I'm not just doing my duty, but I'm doing my duty out of love for the universe, or out of the universal, right? And that's a truly good will. I think Kant is going to lead us in that direction. So the categorical imperative then is a statement that will help us develop a unified will. And that will be a desire for the universe or the universal law, what could be for all, right? So it unifies our will. So then in order to understand how the categorical imperative works and what makes it discern between or make differences between what is okay to do and not okay to do, what is right and what is wrong, how we should use our freedom and how we should not use our freedom, is all dependent on whether or not we have a consistency in those two kinds of will, what I want for myself and for others, right? When my will is inconsistent, it is inconsistent with itself. My will gets split when what I want for me is different from what I want for others. What I hope for myself is different from what I'm hoping for others. When that is split, it's wrong. That's it. What makes it wrong is the inconsistency, not the consequences, not the benefits or the problems that come from my actions. It's that in that action there's a split will, and then it's wrong. So here's how it works. Act only on that maxim, which you can at the same time will to be a universal law. That's the categorical imperative. So when you act, so do something, you only do those things which, at the very time that you're doing them, you could want it to work, whatever your action is, and you could want it for all people under the same conditions with the same will. Act only on that maxim. So you do something with a maxim. A maxim is your reason for acting. Act only on that maxim. Act only on that reason for acting, which you can, at the same time, at the time that you're acting, will that it become a universal law. Want all people to act under that maxim. All right. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I find myself in a difficult situation where it seems to me the easiest way to deal with the problem is to just tell a slight falsehood. Not a big one, just a little one. Like, oh, I was late because I was stuck in traffic. When maybe the full story is I was late because there was a little bit of traffic, but I left 10 minutes too late, and because I was sleeping in and hit the snooze too many times. But I don't want to say all of that because it would make it seem like this activity now is unimportant. So I ask myself, okay, can I get myself out of a slight difficulty by stretching the truth, by telling a little bit of a lie? So we run it through the categorical imperative. I will lie to get myself out of trouble. And when I'm lying to get myself out of trouble, can I, at the same time that I'm telling this lie, be wanting everyone to be telling lies to get themselves out of trouble? And you can see that there's definitely a doubled will here. There's the will for myself. Why am I telling a lie? Well, so that I can get out of trouble. But would my lie work if everyone told lies? The answer is clearly no, right? The only way that people will believe a lie is if they have mostly been told the truth in their lives. So that if people were to lie all the time, then nobody would believe anybody, especially when they were giving an excuse for anything. They would all think that everybody's lying because that's all everybody would ever do, because it would be a universal law to lie. And so when I'm telling a lie, I have to be planning on the fact that most people are honest. And because most people are honest, my lie will work for me. And it will get me out of trouble. But if everybody lied like I'm lying, then my lie wouldn't work. So at the very moment that I'm lying, I have to be hoping and wanting everybody else to be mostly honest people. So that in this case, when I'm telling this lie, it will work for me. And it will accomplish what I'm hoping it will accomplish. So in the very act of lying, I have a split will. My me will is hoping it will work. My will for others is hoping that they will be honest so that I can lie and get away with it. So I'm inconsistent with myself. That inconsistency makes it wrong. Period. It's just wrong to lie. It will always be wrong to lie under all circumstances everywhere, because I could never, while lying, will a universal will to lie. Just not possible. I can't steal, and at the same time as stealing, will, a universal will to steal, right? All right, so that's how the categorical imperative works. At the time that I'm acting, can I, while acting and wanting to accomplish the aims of my action, at the same time want everyone to be acting and having this same will for their own actions? And if I can't, like in the case of a lie, then I'm clearly violating the categorical imperative. I could not act on the maxim that it's okay to lie to get out of trouble and think that everyone, at the same time, while I'm lying, I could be wanting everyone to be lying. It's impossible. And that's what makes it inconsistent, and that's what makes it wrong. All right, I think that's enough. It's been a little bit over 10 minutes. I hope I've explained the categorical imperative and what makes things right or wrong. I only want to emphasize one more thing very quickly. It's actually going to be a couple more minutes. Kant then distinguishes between that formulation of the categorical imperative, act only on that maxim which you can at the same time will to be a universal law, and another one which is called the formula of the end in itself. You will need to know this one for the next reading that we do. Honora O'Neill starts, I think, on page 510 of your book. But Honora O'Neill is going to take the formula of the end in itself and help us to understand how we should deal with problems in the real world, famine, hunger, poverty, things like that. But the formula of the end in itself is this: act so that I treat humanity, both in others and in myself, always as ends in themselves and never merely as means. I sort of butchered that. Act only on that. Act so as to treat humanity, both in myself and in others, never as mere means or solely as means, but also as ends in themselves. And in that distinction, Kant distinguishes between two things: things that have a price and things that have dignity. Things that have a price have an exchange value. I can trade this for that if it has a price. And when you treat people with a price, that means that they do something for you for a certain end. But if you could find something else that accomplishes that end at a lower price or with less difficulty, you would just exchange them. Things that have a dignity have an intrinsic worth. That is, they're valuable all on their own. So I should act so that I treat others as having intrinsic worth or value all on their own, that their aims and their goals are as important or more important as my own. All right. So that's the formula of the end in itself. All right. Have a great day. Bye.